Hey guys, welcome back to Chinese TCG Store. Today I have another market watch for you. Yes, this is the second market watch today, if you're wondering. But I wasn't really too happy with the one I did earlier, so I figured I would just do another one and try to do a better job with it. Before we get started with the market watch, I mentioned earlier that I wasn't be going to locals tonight, which ended up turning into a whole thing. So after I got off work, I packed my deck and my bag, and I went ahead and headed up to locals, which is about 30 minutes from me with traffic. If you're not familiar with Atlanta, the traffic can get pretty atrocious, like in the afternoons and early in the morning. So I drive all the way out there, and I grab my bag and I'm walking up the steps, and I noticed there's not really a lot of cars there in the parking lot, which to me, I was like, well, I am here like an hour early, but I wanted to get there a little bit early to go through other people's trade binders, which is usually the case. If you get there early, other people are there looking for trades, and you can usually find some decent deals on some cards that you're looking for. But I get up to the door and notice there's no lights on in the place, and there's a sign on the door that says all events have been canceled this week, but they didn't say like any reason. And I checked the doors and it was closed, so it's not like they just weren't running events. Like the entire store was closed. And the store is actually called Dabbers, if you're familiar, which is a huge store on TCG Player. They have tens of thousands of sales. They do lots of openings and selling. They're one of like the bigger stores out there. So I drove 30 minutes out there basically for nothing. So I had to turn around and come home. I looked before I left to see if any other locals in my area were having tournaments tonight, and it didn't look like they were. So pretty much out of luck for the night. So I was a little nervous to go anyways, because like I said, I was playing what I would call suboptimal Despia branded, just because I haven't received the rest of the cards yet. I'm getting the rest of the deck tomorrow. Not that I don't have a full deck, I do. It's just the cards I'm getting tomorrow would make it a lot more consistent, because I'm getting my branded openings tomorrow in the mail. But so that was pretty much a wash, unfortunately. I'm going to try to go to a locals on Tuesday. I believe Super Games Inc. does, I think, Yu-Gi-Oh on Tuesday and Thursdays, or no, Tuesdays and Saturdays. So I'm gonna try to go do that. If you're in the area, definitely feel free to come out there, and I think it'd be a good time on Tuesday. But actually, you know what? I might not be going Tuesday. I might be traveling up to Raleigh, North Carolina. So actually, scratch that. I'm not going to be there Tuesday. I think I am going to be traveling. So I guess I don't know when I'm going to be going to locals. But that rant aside, for this market watch, I am going to make this a premiere and kind of make it like a Friday night hangout. So I'll be hanging around when this video premieres. And if you have any questions or anything, or any cards that you want to look at, not this market watch because this will already be filmed, but for future market watches, definitely let me know in the comments. I'll write them down and we'll go over them. But first, I wanted to take a look at OTS Tournament Pack 19. This just dropped like a day or two ago on here, but there weren't really many listings. There's been a little more listings showing up. But the first card is Water Enchantress of the Temple, Ultimate Rare, which is going for around 156. I did see it selling for more closer towards like 225 the first day I saw cards, kind of show up on here, which was ridiculous. I think even at 156, this is still too high for this card, because you have to keep in mind this card has kind of phased out of the format a little bit. It's still around, don't get me wrong, but it's not seeing play in like almost every deck like it was. And then besides that, we also have the Ultra Rare, which is really relatively cheap right now, which is like $38, $39, which doesn't really affect the Ultimate Rare, because that is just the standard copy the Ultra Rare is, whereas this is like the high rarity. But you do have the Collector's Rare from Grand Creators being the first print, and also being pretty high rarity. I think if you're going to debate which one's higher rarity, I would say the Ultimate Rare. Just in general, I think Ultimate Rare is higher rarity than Collector's Rare. But you also have to keep in mind that there is the Rite of Aramsir and Fateful Adventure also in Collector's Rare. So people might want to have their engine matching as much as they can. So I don't really know how many people are going to go for the Ultimate Rare. I personally really want the Ultimate Rare. So I'm going to wait and see what this card does. I do think that you could probably get this card for 115 or below. Keep in mind, there's still only 12 listings here. There'll be more listings over time. I suspect prices, like as a whole for this set, will drop quite a bit over the next couple of weeks. OTS packs are different than like your standard, core set where on release day, everybody's opening it up. There's a lot of product being opening. Like for OTS packs, yeah, it's that you have the release date, but not every locals gets it at the same time. And then the only way to get these packs is to play in a tournament. So there's literally like basically no product being open. Like you think about each locals, it's probably giving out roughly 20 packs for a tournament, and there only being like one tournament per store a week, or maybe two if you're lucky. That's just not a lot of packs being open. So it could take a couple of weeks for these prices to kind of settle from where they're at now. Besides the tournament though, some stores do, like if you buy a product, instead of getting like a lost art, they'll let you choose to open a few OTS packs. So I have seen that before, and I've heard of other people being able to do that. And then besides that, occasionally a case of these will come on eBay for sale, sealed, which is really sketchy because that's not, technically legal. Definitely Konami, if they, figure out who you are and you're selling like a case of these, you're gonna probably lose your OTS status. So I wouldn't, if you are an OTS store, I would not suggest selling your case of packs here. And also it's just kind of a really schemy, dirty thing to do, because then you're screwing all your players that are, coming to play there. And I did notice that too. I feel like with OTS, what was droplets? OTS 16. I felt like no locals I went to had it. I feel like they were all just selling the packs or opening it and selling the forbidden droplets and stuff, because there was 2 cards in there on release that were over $200. So to me, I was really, curious about that. And then as well as like, I've seen OTS stores, you like go on their, their commerce website, and they'll be like, oh, I have 10 ultimate rare droplets in stock. You're like, how did you acquire those? Like, were you opening those OTS packs that Konami sent you that I'm supposed to be opening by going to this tournament? So I don't know. It's the whole thing is a little scammy to me. But Water Enchantress at 156, I would wait. The collector's rare we'll go over here in a minute, but that has dropped quite a bit in price. Fallen Valbaz 120 going up to 130. I do think this will be more towards like an $80 card. And the reason I say that is because you look at the rest of the Despia branded stuff, it's all falling in price because we have, I don't think that Spite will be necessarily tier 0, but I think that it'll be close. And it's going to be far better than Despia, and people are just not going to be playing Despia as much. I'm going to still be playing it, like I said. I don't care about playing the best deck in the room. I just want to be playing a decent deck. And occasionally I am playing the best deck in the room, but it's just because I like playing it. We'll see if I pick up Spite or not. I think I probably at this point would rather go for Tier Limits because it has better long-term potential to play. Like I feel like you could play Tier Limits for a longer period of time and it'd be like one of the best decks in the room. Whereas Spites, I feel like don't really have any support announced as far as I'm aware, like coming immediately after it, like Tier Limits do. And then also it's going to be subject to the ban list. Like if Toad gets hit or something, it's going to hurt it pretty bad. Other than that, Skill Drain is 115. I think that this will be substantially cheaper. I think you'll be able to pick these up for like 65 bucks, 70 bucks. I just don't see this being that expensive of a card. It's just not that widely played. Forbidden Chalice, 550 lowest here. That's not terrible. And then it goes to 10, but keep in mind, like this is not really a good deal per se, because there's still only 13 listings here, even though some of them are stacks. Just wait a little bit. 550 is not bad if you want to get it. Like you shouldn't feel bad if you pay that, but I think that this card will probably be more like towards like 350. But hey, 550, if you want to go for it and not risk it, I don't think that you should feel bad paying that price for it. Fairy Tale Snow round 4. This is going to drop a lot. I mean, this is a common. There's going to be a ton of these out there. This is probably going to be $1.50, $2, just depending on. I don't know if people are still playing this as much. I know Despia, of course, is going to be playing it, but I don't know, like moving into August when we're getting Spite and Tier Limits, if this will see as much play. I don't think that it would. But correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know what you think. I haven't seen it in OCG lists, but I don't know if it's legal there or not. So I guess that could be a thing too that I would have to consider. But really, I think the reason that Fairy Tale Snow is good right now is because we have cards like, Branded Fusion being able to send this to the graveyard. I mean, of course, you have like Foolish Burial and stuff like that, but and then if you're playing like the Tinny Sword Soul cards, like you could potentially make shoot a Riser Dragon and then send this to the graveyard. I don't know if that's still a common play. I know that was like kind of more of a base play, but I'm not too sure on that. DD Burfame, I guess, $3. I mean, like again, it's gonna go. All these cards like are gonna go much slower. This slime token is gonna be $1, guarantee it. Caius at 250. I actually think that this is a card you need to keep your eye on. I wouldn't buy it right now, but if you can get it for like $1 or under, I think it's a great card to get. Really good for old formats, and I believe Caius Ultimate Rare is like pretty bought out. Like it's really expensive. Genghis at $3, no, because you can go buy an ultra rare right now for like nothing. It's like maybe $1. It's just really high right now because there's no supply, and that's kind of the problem. But I did see some like Fallen of Albaz Ultimate Rare selling for like $250, like on eBay and even on here, I think too. Like right when listings started showing up. I guess they have 2 tokens in here. I'm trying to think what else is in here that's decent. I mean, this is not a very good OTS pack, to be honest with you. I mean, Gores, like you can get the secret rares for pretty cheap. Even I think the ghost rares are cheap too. Like not cheap, but relatively like $30 maybe. Trap Eater, I mean, it's okay. Again, I think you could get them cheap. I mean, 75 cents isn't real bad from this red collection, but I don't know. I'm not too excited about this OTS pack. I think they really dropped the ball here. I am curious to see, actually, I'm going to look at Fallen of Albaz and see, kind of see what it was selling for initially. So far, I've only seen one picture of this card, and it was actually on eBay. And the angle that they took the picture at, it honestly looked like a common with just the gold text. So it was a low quality picture. It didn't look good, I can tell you that. So hopefully it looks a little bit better than the picture that I saw, but we'll have to see. So here's a sale for 200 up to 225 here. Those people are, not too bright here, unfortunately. Let's see if there's a picture available here. There's not. Again, I mean, 120 is not bad, but I really think you're going to be able to get this for much cheaper. There's only 6 listings here. Moving on, I wanted to take a look at Water Enchantress of the Temple Collector Rare from Grand Creators. This is, was up towards like 167 back in March. And right now it's at $100 for lightly played first edition, and near mint's 105, going up to 110 here. This is going to come down to personal preference. Do you like collector's rare? Do you want to match your Rite of Messiers, or do you just want to go max rarity, which my belief is the ultimate rare. And to me, I have seen really good pictures of the ultimate rare. It looks so good. Like that's why I really want one. If they did a bad job on it, I wasn't going to pick it up, or I would pick up this version instead, because I do want a high rarity version of this card. But they knocked it out of the park on that specific. This specific card. This is going back up to 130. I think that this will fall, to be honest with you, because you're going to have competition between the 2 copies. I could see the ultimate rare being like around 100 and this being around 75 to 80, maybe 85, or they could be around the same price, right around 100. I do think this will go further down, especially as the ultimate rare drops in price. Rite of Messier is actually spraying back up. Which is crazy. And I think the reason is because you'll have the higher rarity of Water Enchantress for a cheaper price as a whole, because it got another high rarity card printing. So this was going for around, like, I remember seeing copies for $105. Now we're going up to 125 here, up to 130. I still don't really think that this card is worth getting. It looks okay, but I'm a little worried about spending this kind of money on this engine, because I think that it probably will get hit in a ban list at some point. Maybe not this next one, we'll see. I don't think it deserves to be hit right now, based on the factors that it's not seeing as much play, really. And it does kind of have some extreme limitations, not being able to use your normal summon effect. But a lot of decks can get around that. And I think it's going to limit card design in the future if they don't do something to this engine. So I think that's kind of one of the reasons they would need to. yeah, it just seems like nowadays they're creating engines that they know they're going to put on the ban list at some point, which is not a good way to go about this. It's clearly just a money grab. This engine's insane. I love this engine, but it seems like that's what they're doing. Like you couldn't have like created these cards and not thinking or not thought that this should end up on the ban list one day, because it's just so powerful. So next I wanted to, like, we've been talking about deck wars a little bit recently. And one of them that's really cheap right now is Drytron. And this has actually been doing pretty decent recently, you know, getting a few tops here and there. And we just got Benton back to, or, you know, Cyber Angel Benton back to 2 from 1, which is good. One of the problems though is like Benton is kind of focused around adding fairy monsters to your hand, which is not bad right now, but, you know, because you can add like Scythe, or you can add most likely like your Lancia, but, or your, what's the other one? I can't think of her name, but it's the one from Lightning Overdrive, the little Diviner of the Herald. You can add that as well. But with Eva gone, like it's kind of, you can't play that Herald package anymore, which, you know, really hurts. But you got your Meteonos Drytron Collector Rare here for $50. Not too bad, because it does go up to 60 right after this sells. Draconids at, you know, 35, pretty good. This card's insane, honestly. And this is honestly pretty good penny stock as well. Not penny stock, but cheap collector rare stock, being around $15. It's a pretty decent card itself. Not as good, not nearly as good as Draconids, but it's still a decent card. Moo Beta Fafnir at $12. Here's my thing with this specifically, is we will be getting a reprint, you know, most likely, all things aside, in the Megatons. I imagine this will be a reprint at probably an ultra rare. And it's going to be like $1 ultra rare, $1.02 ultra rare. So getting this right now is not the best plan. I do think having the secret rare is probably a good play, but I think you can get this card for, you know, $6, $7. If you want to play this deck right now, just go for it. I mean, saving $4 or $5 really isn't worth holding off that long if you're going to be playing it right now. But if you just want to buy this deck for to have, you know, I would just wait for the Megatons. But besides this, really, and Diviner the Herald, most of this other stuff won't be reprinted in the Megatons because it's, you know, Genesis Impact, which missed the Megatons last year. I just don't see them doing that. Drytron Nova is $13, which is a steal. This card was $35, I believe, 25 to 35, somewhere in between there, in the heyday, maybe even up to 40 at one point. Plenty of copies here for $13. You know, some light plays here for 12. Conte is a good seller, if you're wondering, but great card. And honestly, if you're going to pick up any of these cards as singles and not pick up the whole deck, Nova would be the one I would say go for. Or try the Meteonos. Meteonos here, $7. Again, fair price for this card. It's always been around this price. You know, it's gone up to maybe $8 or $9, but, you know, nothing insane. Draconids ultra rare, $1.29. I'm probably gonna pick one up because I do have most of the core. I just don't have Nova or Meteonos. So I might as well just finish it out at these prices, because I actually really enjoy playing this deck. But the problem is when it lost Vertan Akonda, that was kind of a big hit for this deck because it kind of shifted from being focused around playing the fairies and stuff into being more of like a making like Appaloosa or stuff like that, just because it can make a lot of link materials. So I mean, it's still pretty decent. And then you also were playing like your Draconids to, you know, deal a lot of damage and stuff. And then you have your Fafnir for spell negates. So all around it was still a decent deck, especially because you could just make your Verte and then go into your Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. But when it lost that package, I think it took a little hit there. And other than that, everything is just pennies here. But some of these OTS pack ones, if they don't have like a Megaton reprint, like in a higher rarity, might be good pickups. This is really cheap. Actually, I'm gonna see if this has a reprint and anything else. I always like getting OTS supers, especially for, you know, stuff that's used in good decks, because they can go up over time, especially if they don't have another hollow printing. So it has a super rare in the 21. Like, why would they do that? You know, this is what makes me mad about OTS packs, is like when you invest, like, so when I think this Altice came out in the OTS pack 16, it was probably a couple dollars. And then you're like, okay, this is a safe investment. It's going to miss the tens because why else would they reprint it now? And then they reprint it in the tens. So yeah, it's not going to, I actually wouldn't pick up the OTS super rare because it's just not worth it at this point. Other than that, like I would, if you were going to pick up this deck, and I would go with a prismatic, any of the prismatic secret rare reprints from the tins would be good to have. You can play this deck pretty high rarity for pretty cheap. I honestly think this is one of the best budget decks out right now. Because you're realistically the most expensive cards in your deck is going to be Fafnir, Nova, Meteonis, and then your Diviner. But the thing is I would, if you wanted to pick this up, maybe just pick up this core and wait on Diviner and Fafnir, or if you wanted to play it, Diviner is $60. It's not that expensive, but you have to keep in mind too, like your extra deck monsters, of course, are going to always be expensive. But that's going to be for almost any deck you play besides like Monarchs, which no one's playing, or more likely probably Flunderies. So next is Invocation for maximum gold. And this, what I'm going to discuss is going to go for like all versions of this card at this point. Invoked is just such a good engine, and it comes up time to time. I don't think it'll ever be dead completely. I think people will try to always make it work. It's not the most exciting engine, but it's just consistent and it gets results. But right now these are going for $275, heading up towards $3.30, $3.70 here. I think this is a good penny stock because the thing is, if people like budget players want to play Invoked, they're going to go for this card because it's the cheapest version, or the super rare, which is like maybe $7, about twice the price of this. Usually like we see that where it's like the lowest copy kind of moves first when it's related to competitive play, unless it's hype driven, and then sometimes the higher rarity stuff gets bought out first, depending, like commons wouldn't get bought out first, but like if it's a holo it would. But this is not, like, Invoked is really not seeing play right now, but it doesn't mean it won't come back into the format at some point. I do think that every time Invocation gets reprinted, like it's low in price and then it spikes up over time, or almost immediately in some cases, like the Battles of Legend Armageddon that started off at like $14 and then went to 35 like over the course of a week or two. It was short printed, which didn't help, but right now if you look at the Armageddon copies, I believe they're like 12 to 14 bucks. Yeah, 12 bucks, pretty good there. If you wanted to get the first edition Fusion Enforcers, that would be a good play too. Some people say that these get like bad tacoing effects, and I haven't personally owned the Fusion Enforcers version, but I have owned the Fusion Enforcers, like other secret rares, like for Alistair, for example, and they seem perfectly fine to me. I never had any issues, so I don't know that that's a universal issue. And when it tacos, it's not that big of a deal. Just set it under a book, or bend it back out. $13.50 here for light play first edition. The original secret rares, and then near mint $15. Again, just a really good price here on Invocation. Just something to keep your eye on if you want it. Next is Ghost Mourner, and I know we've talked about this card, all the time, but I do have a lot of faith in this card. And a lot of scenarios, Effect Veiler or Infinite Impermanence might be better, but in a link heavy format, this card's pretty good. I think the argument that a lot of people, will kind of say is, well, Ghost Mourner is once per turn, whereas Effect Veiler is not. But most games, you're going to just be drawing one copy of this. And most people aren't playing this at 3 anyways. You're going to be playing this at 2. Like, for example, I played 2 of these, like 2 Ash Blossoms, 1 Infinite Impermanent, but I'm also playing Crossout Designator, so I'm playing like 1 or 2s of each card. I actually prefer, believe it or not, I prefer playing 2 copies of each like hand trap that I want to play, just so I don't end up opening multiple, because like Ash Blossoms is the same thing. If you open 2 Ash Blossoms, that really sucks. So that's my reasoning. But the ultra rares are like $1.25 right now, which is really low, to $1.50, $1.70. These were up to $3 at one point when base was running around. But I would just make sure that you have a couple of play sets, maybe even 3 play sets of Ghost Mourner at least. Doesn't matter which version you really want to get. I would say ultra rare and secret rare, of course, are the best. Or if you really want to go all out, Starlight Rare. I think that actually might have gotten bought out recently.
But right now you can get the secret rare ghost mourners for like $20, which is really, really good. This was going for like 35, during when base was running around. So just keep your eye on this card. I think, is this last? This might be last, but I wanted to take a look at legendary duels from the deep, because today is like I think, I can't remember if today's the first day. Yeah, today's the first day of release for this set. The number 101 Silent Honor Art Ghost Rare is going for 50. I think that this will go down more. Forbidden Droplet, $46. I still think this will go down more. We'll have to see. If the rest of the set just completely flops, maybe it won't, because this set has to have some value or people just won't open it. Fish Sonar is $5. This is embarrassing, honestly. This is really sad. This set is terrible. If this is like the next most expensive card of Forbidden Droplets, that's not too good here. Marincess Dive, $7, $6 actually here. Seventh Ascension, $4. Abyss Shark, $4. Coral Triangle, $2, and it just gets worse from there. I mean, this is day one of this set release, keep that in mind. And this is already worse than I thought it would be as far as single price targets here. I would stay away from this set. Do not open this set, because if you don't pull droplets, you're screwed. And realistically, you're not getting the ghost rare. If you don't pull droplets, you're realistically probably getting $10 back on your value of spending $45 in a box. And best case scenario, you pull one droplets and you make the set back, but you're not gonna plus on this set. There's just, unless you pull a droplets and a ghost rare, there's just, this set's not good, to be honest with you. I was hoping it would do a little bit better, but if you wanted to get some of these, fish cards or Marincess cards, they're going to be cheap for you, which is nice. I'll probably end up picking up some of these when they get lower. I mean, today's day one, so there's nowhere to go from here but down, unless one of these decks get like a first place finish this weekend. Is there anything else I have here? Okay, yeah. So if the World Chalice Justicar, I don't know, something like that from Dark Neon Storm. I briefly talked about this yesterday, like when I just randomly, or earlier today when I just passed by it, but it got me thinking. And I wanted to see what the first editions were going for, because it only populated the unlims, and they're going for around $4 or $5 here. Again, I think it's a good card to have. It's just really, really good, and it's on the ban list currently. And like I've said before, it's a good idea to have ban list cards, unless they're like just extremely expensive. Like, you don't need to go buy like an ultimate rare max C, because one, it might not ever come back. I think this card would be fine to come back, World Chalice Ib. Yeah, that's really it. I would just make sure you have like a ban list binder, or just have cards from the ban list on there, because a lot of times they're really cheap, or you can get a pretty cheap, decent copy. And when they come back from the list, it's like, they 10 to 20x like on the spot. So it's kind of worth the risk. And if nothing else, you have a cool card to have in your binder. Next is Dragoon. So I wanted to see where this card is sitting at. So the Starlight Rare is $350 or under for the Starlight Rare, which is crazy, because if you remember, this card was bought out when it was seeing play in Branded Despia, or was people thought it would see play in Branded Despia. It was like kind of right before it came out, and it was like $600, down to $350. If you want to pick this card up, I think this is a fine price to pay for it. I don't really see it going much lower than this, maybe 300 like lowest. But I really do want this card, and we'll see. I might end up getting it. The ultra rare, it's around 60 to 65. It's gone down. It was like 115 to 120, like when people thought it was going to be seen play and branded, but it just ended up not really working out. And then last is going to be the ultimate rare super polymerization from OTS Tournament Pack 14. If you remember, like kind of right when branded or the Outbound structure deck was coming out, super poly got bought out. It was like maybe a little bit before then, and it like went up to like 175 and then kind of cooled off to 155. But now it's down, like almost down to where it was before the buyout. 113 for light play, going to 115 for near mint unlimited. So if you sold these at like 160, 170, 150, whatever, and you want to pick these back up, you could go for it. The price before the buyout was $95 to $100. So it's getting close there. So if you just want to watch it and see if it goes back down to that $95 range, I think that'd be great. I think I would pick it back up too if it gets back down to 95. I think 115 is still a little bit higher than I want to pay for it right now. Just because I think you're gonna have to hold on to this card for a long time until it gets hyped back up again for whatever future set or deck. But that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll have another market watch sometime this weekend. I'm not sure exactly when yet. Like I said, I do have a 3-day weekend, so I'm not sure what my plans are exactly yet. But you guys have a good Friday night and a good weekend. And I guess I'll see you when I see you. Bye.